Good afternoon, this is Xfinity Channel on Education. Growing in students and expanding your ELT business requires quite a deep understanding of the mechanisms that operate both online and offline in order to connect with as many students as possible and spread the word. And more than a to-do list, to sell more, we need to find those little things that make the difference and explain them to our students. Today we'll try to understand what makes a successful promotion and what are the differences that make us unique. And we're going to talk with Cameron and Thor in Madrid. Hi guys.
Hi there.
Hi. Graham Bell in Malaga. Rob Wiley's
Hi.
hi.
How are you doing?
Hi Graham. And Rob Wiley is here with me in Barcelona, and I'm Radmila Gurkova. So let's get started. Guys, do you know where your clients come from? Let's start with Thor and Cameron. Do you know?
Well, we discussed it, and sometimes we know where they're coming from. Okay, so if you use online marketplaces such as Superprof or Tush Classes, you have a chat system where you speak to the student first before you can provide an email address or a phone number. Okay, so through that means, yes, absolutely, you know where they come from. Same thing, social media channels or your website, we can track that because they come through a platform. Other places such as Lingobongo, Craigslist, all these sort of online advertising spaces, you just have an advert where you leave your contact details. So you don't really know from which one your students have come from, but you do have the option where you can ask them, okay? You can ask them at the point when they contact you, or you can ask them if they take a free trial class. You know, guys, where did you find me, okay?
But if you are to use, for instance, a code like attached to the URL, you can keep track of those students as well. Because I think that Craigslist and Lingobongo, I think they allow you to post a link, right? Not quite certain, but I think they do.
Yeah, so that, like you're saying, if you want them to come through the website first so that you can track it, yeah, absolutely, you could put a link there. But you have that option, or you can directly. I mean, a lot of the process we do here is we give a phone number on Tush Classes to get it to Maria, and then Maria can talk to them and give them full details. Okay, so it's whether you want someone to read a web page, okay, read what they see and go, okay, that sounds interesting. I want to learn more. I'll enter my email address and someone will be in contact. Or you want someone to directly speak to a representative of Xfinity that can instantaneously explain everything. I think it just depends on what the customer, the student prefers. Okay, that might be separated by sort of nationality or age, whether they prefer calling someone or they prefer using a website. So yeah, you have that sort of difference.
Okay, so you always try to provide alternatives for those who are more used to just getting the phone, or calling and getting information, or sending a request by email or by via the website. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, and Thor, where do your students find you? Because you're very active in social media. So what can you tell
Oh,
us?
yes. So I usually get them from Facebook. I find Facebook the best platform for getting students, mostly because it's easy to track them, track interest there. I mean, if you're in those classes, that's where I also get students with that. They're just craving for cheap classes from other teachers. You don't know what they actually want, and you're just throwing out the fishing rod in the sea. You don't know what you're getting. So I usually find Facebook the best in my case.
And what do you do? Well, how do you promote yourself there?
Well, usually I have videos. Those are very effective. I have 30-second videos where I just basically teach about something interesting. Phrases are very useful, very funny to do. And when I do it in the streets, looks more spontaneous. It's more for the viewers.
Yeah. Okay. Uh,
Yeah, I agree. I myself, I do videos. Exactly what Thor's saying, actually. If you're doing them outside in the street, especially in cities like, let's take, I've not been to Malaga, but Barcelona, Madrid, they're quite distinctive, okay? So if you're taking a video in the street in Madrid, and people from Madrid are watching this video and go, oh, wait, that's Madrid, they're going to watch the video because it's something that's familiar to them, okay? So it's a very, very useful tool that's easy to do. Plus, there's the other benefit where you may have some people, I don't know if Thor has ever had this, where they'll come up and say, what are you videoing? I heard you speaking English. What is it? Does it happen to you?
No, I have.
Okay. Yeah, so someone might come up and approach you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So it's very useful.
Okay, so Graham, in Malaga, for instance, what does work the best? Like word of mouth or online marketing, or what is, in your opinion, the best strategy?
I get a kind of from. I think normally I get business interest, people from looking for the business aspect of what I can do from SuperPro and TWO's classes, and I've got more kids, families.
Mm-hmm.
But recently, I believe, I haven't identified this as true, but word of mouth, I'm teaching two kids from the same school. So I'm only presuming that they've spoken to each other.
Yeah.
And said, hey, this person's teaching my daughter, because recently I had one and I've now just got two, like a son, sorry, a brother and sister. So I think word of mouth is
Yeah.
really useful.
Actually, it's proven that 80% of your future clients will come from already existing ones. So, but yeah, we really need to have strategies for online and offline marketing, that's for sure, because we need these channels. But truly, where you will be getting students is because you already have some and you are sending the right message to them so that they can talk about you. Okay, so in this regard, what do we need to have? What is absolutely necessary that we have, we teachers, so that students find us, being it online or offline?
I had said what the two things they look for were the most important. Number one was do I understand them? Their voice, to be able to see and hear their voice. So these videos that Tor does are great because you can see how easy it would be to work with. And then the other that was recommendation. Having a list of recommendations linked in TWO's classes or SuperProf from students who told me that's something they look for and important for them.
Okay. What about you guys? Where do you recommend students find us?
Yeah, I'd say obviously you want to have as much online presence as possible. If we're talking about, so if we look at word of mouth as an example, that is the best way of getting students. You've already got the social proof from people who've had a class or heard about you. But how do you actually pass on your details
There you go.
to that person? Or how does the medium, the person that you've taught, actually pass on your details?
Exactly.
Okay. And one of the best things to have is a website, a social media presence. Everyone has a phone now. You can simply send your student a link. They've said, hey, my friend's quite interested in classes. How should I put them in touch with you? Okay, here's a link to my website. Boom, send it to them, and they can get in touch. Okay, and then you know exactly where they've come from as well.
Yeah. Okay. And for instance, for Google, for instance, we use long tail. So Cameron, you're the expert here. Can you explain what is that and how can we benefit from a long tail?
Okay, sure. So if we look at the full name, it will probably make it easier to understand. So you have keywords, okay? Word. So keywords might be English, professor, okay? Spain, Madrid. It's single words on their own, right? If you have a long tail keyword, it just means it's a small phrase that is searched in Google. So you generally search Google for a sentence, a question, or a couple of words, right? If you have a long tail keyword, it means that part of that phrase will be searched. So as an example, if you look at English as the keyword, if we look at the long tail, it might be English for doctors, okay?
Uh-huh.
So English for doctors, 3 words together that are commonly searched becomes a long tail keyword, okay? So you want to try and focus on using long tail keywords, so words that are always associated beside each other in your online platforms, so that when people search for you, you have more chance of ranking highly, okay? If you use the word English on its own, how many,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
any type of category, people search for
Millions.
English,
Yeah.
like mathematics books
Yeah.
in English, teachers of English, how do you say this in English? You're going to get so much content, so much data that there is no chance, there is absolutely no way that you will number one or in the first 100 pages of Google for the word English. Okay, it has to be something a lot more specific, more niche that people are searching for you to rank. Okay, so I think For has some blogs where you have a chemistry
Yeah,
background and you use that to quite an effective way.
yeah.
Okay. And for instance, we have every week more than 1,300 hours. So if you think about it, it's well, usually it's more than one student in a group. So every single week we have the chance, we all together, to reach more than 4,000 students. So potentially, imagine how much chances or how many chances we have to get to more students. Okay, but I wanna talk about, now that we have the audience and we can take it to multiply these hours. What do we tell these guys? So we are better. Why? Because we're more handsome, because we're more native, or what is different about us? Let's work a little bit on the message.
Okay, sure. A big point, and I think this came from Gabriella actually, is you're wanting to solve their problems. Okay, so everyone has multiple characteristics that make them different and make them good. But if someone is telling you what they want in an advert, and so the user-based advert, the student's advert, that's the characteristic that you may have that you want to focus on. Okay, so if someone says, I want online classes, I don't just say, yeah, I do online classes. I say, I do online classes with a system specifically designed for online classes, which makes it so much better than using Skype because we both see the same screen and you are given your own online account where you can then access all the materials anytime you want after the class. Okay, so I don't just give them what they want, I give them everything that makes me different
Yeah.
times 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Put another one. I want to say another thing, and another thing is like availability. I think this is a very crucial one because I got one school, Italian school, where I personally don't like teaching big classes. I'm not comfortable there. So I told the person in charge that I have another person who can cover me at any time. And if she's sick, we have another one covering there as well.
Yeah.
And this is excellent for when you get a new client. So that's something I always say to clients, that I'm always
Yeah.
available.
I guess that's part of being part of the community, right? That we talk about. That if for whatever reason you're sick and you can't make it, then you've got perfectly qualified person who can step in and take your place. Which, if I'm not part of this community and I'm doing private classes, I can't do that. You know.
Exactly. Okay.
Exactly. So that's something that every single one of us can use, and then we all have our own individual specialties that we can bring. If you have a business background, if you're good with kids, if you're very experienced, if you learned English as a second language, whether you're a Spanish speaker or another from another country, you know the process, okay? Or if you're a native speaker, you know how people use intricacies of the language and what they actually say, okay? Maybe a bit more in depth than other people. It really depends what your unique factor is, what you can bring to the table.
Do you guys change the way you find students depending if you are looking, like, do you focus on, okay, I'm gonna find some kid, like teen like clients or adults? Do you change maybe the types of videos you do, or where you market yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I usually make adult-based content.
Mhm.
I don't go. For example, I have a very good example is Christopher Wright in LinkedIn. He's doing business, and he actually contacted me once because he was very excited about video, and he's only niching down on business, pure business. When he does this, he's just focusing on this. So for me, I don't do this. I don't focus on business. I don't focus on theater like Gabriella. I don't focus on videos like Monica.
Mm.
She's very good with videos. And I don't do this. I focus more on adult-based, more of people thing like phrase, more interesting pronunciation errors, etc. So
Yeah.
But you have also a school that approached you, and you have a client that is a school. So, where did you get them from?
yeah, I get, but that was random. It was more of a on two classes. A woman sent me a message. I put up an ad, and she was just desperate because she had two guys who didn't show up for
Uh-huh.
classes. And she said, "Okay, I need a teacher." And she saw that I like drama as well. I love drama, and now I'm teaching a drama. So you can also focus on maybe saying, yeah, I'm a drama teacher and I love to teach about this. Okay, then maybe you get this one just because you focus on
So,
one group.
that can, for instance, be used in a long tail, right?
It could, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Excellent.
One thing I'll add, which I've found, so I actually have a problem with this at the moment, and I need to change it. On Tu's classes, I found at one point there was a lot of people looking for teachers for their children. Okay, so I was still messaging them, and I was changing my message obviously to say, okay, I actually teach students of a similar age at the moment, so I'm used to teaching material for the age range. Okay, so making that specific to. But on my Tu's classes profile, I have my Oxinity profile video. Now, I'm saying in that video that I'm like you all. I have learned a language as an adult. I know it can be difficult. Blah blah blah. Okay, so that's a sort of conflict of interest. I'm not following the same message. If they then click on that, they go, well, that doesn't make sense. He's saying he wants to teach adults or whatever. So I need to change that. And I think if you're doing things, yes, you can have specific things you're saying, but if you have a profile, okay, it's more of an open means for people to arrive. So you need to keep it a little more open and have your messages a lot more targeted. Okay, unless you really know that you just want to teach business English, you're saying no to people and want their kids taught. You don't want to pass it on to anyone else. You really want to focus down. Then yeah, absolutely have your messages targeted to them, your profile targeted to them, your videos targeted, everything targeted. But you need to decide what you want and plan the journey people follow in order to come and take it.
When I personally analyze adverts in tus clases particulares or other marketplaces, I come to the conclusion that pretty much all the teachers say the same, and they focus on the student, and they put their strengths first, but pretty much all of them fail in the approach. Like how exactly you're going to achieve what you say that you're able of achieving. So I think that that's definitely what we can work on and ask ourselves. So how am I different? What is different in my approach? So the fact that you mentioned, for instance, for web classes, our system allows that we connect, that we share the same screen, no need to use Skype and send messages back and forth. That's again something that has to do with the approach. So Graham, what else can we say, or what arguments can we give students when they ask us, how are you different?
How
Yes.
we've got a very operate, and within that structure, the ability to change and adapt to each person. And I think that's what we really are. The fact that we're going to take someone through a process and We're not aiming them for passing exams or levels, and the fact that we're keeping it functional. If someone comes saying they want to do something, then we're going to assess the functions of do it and work on it in that. And I guess it depends on teacher to teacher, but on how engaging, because the material is engaging and it's focused. I mean, you can adapt any of our material. Guys were saying earlier, if it's a business client, we've got business modules, we've got marketing modules, we've got legal modules, we've got everything. I mean, Patricia's got her military course in Madrid.
Yeah,
We have a vast amount of material that we can access to be able to focus in on that student. An adult, and I think the thing that we need to, I often say that I customize my course for you. And I think that thing that I most be like, I'm not like so I can adapt everything to what you do, and we can take it from there.
Yeah, which again is being the benefit of being part of this community, no, and that we can all share that work.
Yeah.
Again, if I'm just by myself, I can't do that so easily.
Actually, I don't know whether teachers fully realize how much we get from the simple fact of taking attendance. That element alone provides so much information for students. So the system then takes everything that they have learned, but also indexes what they haven't learned. So by the simple act of taking attendance, we're using all these data to adapt, but the system adapts to the students, or you adapt to the students with the help of the system, which is much better than you figuring out what that student needs and how to provide it to them. So I think that's another thing that we can also have in mind.
The other thing is that it's a live system, okay? If you go to an academy and you're learning from a textbook, you're not changing the textbook every week. In fact, they're probably not even changing that textbook every year. They'll take it for a couple of years because it's a capital investment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they cannot compete with us. Every week, if something happens in the news, we can talk about it, okay? It's a completely live, so that really differentiates us, I think.
And do you think that...
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, Thor, go ahead.
Like the Venezuelan news thing, we have very relevant around here. We can specify it on or Uber, or you can specify on the strikes or anything very relevant. So that's something else.
Actually, now that you mentioned that, we also have people that are writing blog posts. So Enrique's latest blog post explains the Venezuela situation very well. So it's yet another thing that we can tell students, by the way, check out this blog post. Yeah, because it explains very well. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, the things that are happening now are the things when you go into a class, say, hey, how are you? And the students will be like, oh, have you seen the news this morning? And so the fact that we've got material which is connected exactly to that, then it's perfect in terms of being able to link it.
We have
I have a question from Autumn, and she says, when is the best time to market? So have you found maybe a particular time of the day that it's best to maybe post your videos, Tor, or to upload something to social media?
I think first of all, just don't do weekends that often. Like one time, I actually got a very angry comment from a guy saying, on Saturdays you should be with your family and you should have picnic and you should have fun. And then he got really pissed off, and I just felt bad. And so you could, but I would suggest doing it on maybe Mondays, Tuesdays, or Wednesdays, and maybe Thursdays, Fridays. But I would focus mostly on Tuesdays and Mondays, because I find people in Spain, especially, they're starting to really work on Tuesday. So that's
good point, mate. They start on Tuesday and finish on Wednesday.
I mean, some cafes are actually closed on Monday.
Yeah.
Think about it. I mean, so like that's the kind of the fact. So.
Yeah.
We're laughing about it, but it's true.
No, I'll tell you what. Yeah, a lot of the students prefer actually to take their classes on Tuesday and Thursday rather than Monday and Wednesday. And actually, we have to kind of suggest kindly, would you consider Monday and Wednesday? But But over the years, it has changed because some years ago we didn't have so many Friday classes, and now our Fridays are getting full. So, well, it's
I preferred it before.
significant. Yeah.
What about then another question from Duncan? So, is it possible to overmarket yourself? So again, is it possible to post too much to come across a little bit eager?
Absolutely. It depends on the platform as well. I think I was saying to someone the other day, a platform, let's talk about social media, okay? If you're using Instagram, you can spam people as much as you want. You can post more than once a day if you want, okay? Because the behavior on Instagram is you scroll. You look at everything for 1 second, so you don't really mind. LinkedIn, if you spam people on LinkedIn, they're not going to want to see your stuff. You're going to annoy them like this man was annoyed on the Saturday night. Okay, they're there for a business reason, and you've filled up their valuable content space. It's not junk, it's not rubbish, but it's just stuff that they're not wanting. So what you want to do is you want to pick the platform and tailor your content, I think. So somewhere like LinkedIn, you want to have more detailed, longer pieces of content that you've put a lot of effort into. Whereas like another platform like Instagram, you just want something quick that people can consume and get rid of and just have you in their head. Okay, so yeah, absolutely, you can overmarket yourself. And every platform is different, just classes, whatever.
Yeah, and another kind of similar question is: at what point do you stop chasing someone? So if someone's kind of has made and then give you a message, sent a message, you've got back to them. How often or for how long do you try to get back to them before you forget it?
If someone's messaged me, I try and do it straight away. I'm going to give you a very good example of why this is important. So I had a trial class which was one of the Xfinity students, and he asked me, what is Xfinity, what is Oxbridge? He didn't understand the difference. So I started explaining that, and then he was like, yeah, wow, it was really impressive. I basically typed Professor de Inglés on Google, saw at the top Oxfinity in one of the sponsored apps, clicked on it, saw the website, entered my details, and within 4 minutes, I had a phone call from Maria at the office, and he was like, wow, this customer service is incredible. I want to find out more. So get in touch. It's something like Tush Classes as well. We're all on there posting messages to the same people, and so is every other teacher in Madrid. Okay, you need to be quick, or you just get forgotten.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great advice, and I think Gabriela has a very good piece of advice as well.
Yeah, Gabriela's got some advice, and it's a lot of very similar to what Cameron was talking about earlier. So I'll just read her message, and then we can go. So she said, instead of there's something that you have to mention. So the language that I use online when communicating with potential leads. So for example, if a student on Tush Classes asks for a class focusing on conversation, then I don't reply saying, sure, I can help you teach your English. No. For example, she would say, hi, thank you for reaching out to me. I appreciate it. I have worked as a broadcast and a print journalist, so I understand the power of communication. And because of this, I use the communicative approach when teaching, which ensures that you'll get maximum speaking time, etc. And like you said there, so it's making that relation between your background.
She's very clear on the approach she would take to cover that name. Not just, yes, I'll do it, but how exactly.
Yeah, how and why she's the best,
the right choice.
the right person for the job. And that's about it, really.
Yeah.
I think on Gabriela's point as well, don't be afraid to, once someone is interested in what you're saying, don't be afraid to write a bigger piece of text to them. I mean, if you're answering all the problems they have and they're going, yeah, you're just warming them up. Okay, you don't need to have something that's 3 lines long going, yeah, I can teach you, I come to your house, blah, blah, blah. Quickly. If they've already started speaking to you and they've told you their problems and you start answering them and going into detail like Gabriela does, they just get more attached to you. Okay.
Yeah, I do the same. Like I get students where I have follow-up messages where I just they haven't looked specifically on it. Maybe they had something in their life. Maybe they did something important, and then you just later on you actually give them a message where you post an URL, And I actually got a student the last week just doing this, just saying, hey, do you actually want a class or not? I didn't hear from you. Then I posted a URL and she said, oh, cool website. I like your stuff. And she actually signed up after. So it's quite
Great. Okay. So, was there anything that Cameron, the teachers, mentioned in Madrid in the talk that or in the chat that you had, guys, previously? Anything worth sharing here?
Some of the stuff I put into my answers, so I'll hold my hands up and say not everything is 100% mine. I can't copyright it. Okay, people have contributed. One of the things that I put to the teachers though was, do you approach people in public? Okay, so we're talking a lot about our online presence, word of mouth, all these things, but do you actually do the most basic human thing and ask someone, or do you call a business and say, listen, this is what I do? Do you do that form of communication? And we had one example where someone did, and it seemed quite positive. They were in their university library. There were some people talking in English doing work, and she approached them and said, or they asked her, I don't remember exactly, but a conversation was started, okay? And the question we asked, and maybe you guys might have experience as well, was, well, how do you then keep in touch with that person, okay? Do you give them a number? Do you give them your social media? Do you give them a website, a business card? What is the method to then have them contact you? Do you just leave it up to them and leave stuff with them, or do you say, right, send me a message right now so I can talk to you? And how often do you follow up on that? I mean, that's another thing that we were discussing here. I mean, what are your thoughts?
There we had a teacher that now that we are discussing a lot of marketing strategies, his was based precisely on that. So unlike other people that, for instance, it's very different when we have a person who is recent or new to Madrid or to Barcelona and doesn't have still contacts to expand on. They have to still settle and get started. But that guy, he was absolutely determined to go to events because of the chance to have in-person contact with people. So I think that there are teachers that are starting to realize that, yeah, online is great and social media are great, but nothing can substitute or nothing can be nothing like having an in-person contact and conversation with a prospective client. It's when we can make the most of the talk. It's the most immediate one.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think it's the most dynamic as well. When they say something, you can change.
Absolutely.
You can have a proper
Yeah.
one-to-one conversation is absolutely the best form, and that's why we're trying to get everyone to a free trial class, is to have a conversation.
There you go.
You have people like free things. I've noticed people love free things around here, so they love to just. No, seriously, people love to try something free because they're a bit skeptic. They don't know what it is, and when they talk to you, like in the event, I don't know what this is, but like if they do this, they get to meet in person, and people are. I can say that people are more social here than in Norway, where I'm from. So here I have to be more open and speak to people, and it's quite healthy to do as well. So.
Okay, guys, no, that was excellent. Very many thanks for your participation, for all the tips that you gave us. It was really, really great. And we'll continue on Friday next week with one big question. What do students pay for? So that's the one that we'll have to answer. See if we are able to, because yeah, an important one. Okay, so thank you, Graham. Thank you, Cameron and Thor. Thank you, Rob. And
thanks for having us.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Until next Friday.
Bye.
Bye.
Pleasure. Bye.